Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. Sorry I'm running a little bit late today, about 15 minutes late. I expected to be here sooner, but I did not realize that uh, how long it was taking me to do some shopping, actually, and I ended up missing my mark. So I ran a little bit over, and here I am. But here I am. I got things done. I kind of look presentable enough, I guess. So here I am, and it's time for the show. Hey, how's it going, Deanna? How's it going, Allison? Good to see you guys. Good to see the usual faces for sure. All right, so today we're going to pick up sort of where we left off last week, and also maybe recondense what it was I was trying to get across there, because what I was talking about primarily was the invisible fire and what that is and how it is and how it relates to us. And of course, spoiler alert, it's us. We are the invisible fire, and we're talking about going back to let's see. Um, okay, let's see. Let me get over to here and get rid of this. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Okay, I think I can show that now. Okay. Okay. So, all right, Cleanthes' hymn to Zeus. We'll start with this. So, in Cleanthes' hymn to Zeus, it talks about Zeus, the actual source of everything, and our Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all approach to things. From the Derveni manuscript talks about how Zeus is the demiurge that recreated the universe in its own image, and Cleanthes' hymn to Zeus also speaks of Zeus in this same vein, right? And what they're calling on is the essence of the universe, right? And I talked last week about the pre-Socratic philosophers. Let's see who we have here. Um, let's see, Heraclitus and Anaximenes of Miletus of the 6th century BCE, and Heraclitus of Ephesus around 500 BC. These guys were talking about how the essence of nature was the air, or the essence of nature was that everything is on fire right now, and that thing that is on fire, that essence of the existence that is being manifested, is what later on in the Derveni manuscript around 450 BC, they're talking about this initiation into the Orphic mysteries reveals that Zeus is everything, and everything is all in all Zeus. It's the mind of God, the spirits that work together to manifest God, the will of God, and the experienced reality itself, which is also God, right? So it's Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, and Zeus the all in all. And that's the big mystery reveal of the Orphic tradition that the Derveni manuscript is a commentary on, right? So all this is important to us as magicians, right? Because we're talking about I'm looking at what advanced magic looks like after we've done the initiations. Then what? After we've done the transformations and the healing, and all the hokey pokey stuff, right? Touchy feely, brouhaha. It should not be, in my opinion, the sole focus of your work for the rest of your life. It should be something that you approach, you deal with, you integrate, you continue to integrate as life goes on. You're not necessarily always going to be healed immediately and once and done, but it's not all you're doing. You're healing yourself so that you can manifest that light, that understanding, right? And the method that I've found is best suited for us to be able to have all the things that we want, that the magician is supposed to be able to get. The best way to have all those things is to wholeheartedly pursue that divine source, that scintillating, whatever intelligence that is sparkling in and behind the like the dewdrops of the misty morning, right? That light that comes up at dawn that illuminates an entire fog bank, right? That's what we're talking about, is that light of intelligence and consciousness that is extension of the Zeus, the head, Zeus, the middle, Zeus, the all in all, the panentheistic entity that is God, right? This essential being is the powerhouse behind everything, right? The emergence of everything. And as magicians, the reason that we're seeking power, the reason that we're seeking control of our life, to embrace our power and embrace our potential and reveal the true essence of what we are, is because we are not happy with how things are going. We do not approve of what's going on, right? So let's see, is there anything I want to quote from here? Most glorious of the immortals, invoked by many names. So I'll just read through Cleanthes' hymn to Zeus so we know who we're talking about. Most glorious of the immortals, invoked by many names, ever all-powerful, Zeus, the first cause of nature, who rules all things with law. Hail, it is right for mortals to call upon you, since from you we have our being, we whose lot it is to be God's image. We alone of all mortal creatures that live and move upon the earth. All right, I don't like this translation. All right, I'm not going to read this one. There's a better one where it talks about how it's because we are given the speech that it is our duty to worship God, right? And this is something that I think the essence of what this hymn is trying to talk about is captured here, but I don't think it does it very well, because it's telling people that they have to worship God to express God's will. And like I was saying last week, that's not how this works. In my experience, as you do the Hermetic initiations and you reveal more and more about the light that we're trying to shine through to empower what it is we're doing as magicians, the more we realize that it's not... We're not bowing down to any power greater than ourselves. We are giving voice and expression to thoughts and ideas that are coming from ourselves, like at a higher level, like not just like my higher self that I'm trusting in and all this, regardless of how it feels. You know, it's not like that. It's an active participation in the constant manifestation of things. And when you get into that flow state where you're like into that moment of awareness and your moment by moment experiences, you know, and you're in tune with your daily processes through your daily conjuration of your spirits and your daily whatever connection to the divine that you have, you know, you begin to see that everything is working in harmony together, right? And you find your place in that, and not as a servant, but as, I want to say, almost like an influencer, like a director of the forces that are going on around you. You are the Magister in the center of the circle, right? If you go back to do I have... Excuse me. I'm a little dehydrated today, so you'll have to forgive me. But anyway, over here in Goetia, right, last week I was talking about how in the center of the circle, you know, the point of these grimoires is that it creates, it puts you in the center of the circle, and it makes you the Meister, right? And the Meister understands that their role in manifestation, in the process of manifestation, is the center of the freaking universe, right? You're standing in the center here. There's 4 elements around you. There's the mind of God and all the elements that, all the planetary spheres that apply the different qualities of the planets to the ideas of the mind of God as they manifest, right? That all these things are represented in this circle here, this magic circle, and you're calling on these demons to manifest your desires from this symbolic representation of how you just happen to be the center of the fucking universe, right? That's what this is about. And as magicians, we're assuming our roles as the manifestation point of all of these powers around us. In this circle, all of these powers here are being manifested through us, through our words and our conjuration, to in direction of the forces that then materialize it around us, right? So when I do our daily chants, it's like we go through the day's Orphic hymn to the planet for the god, right? And then we talk about the archangel and the 4 spirits from the Key of Solomon's planetary talismans, right? There's one talisman in each of the planetary set of talismans that gives you the power to command the spirits of that planet, right? And so if you put all that together, you have the Orphic hymn to the god, the archangel of the planetary day, and this 4 elemental-ish, almost elemental correspondent spirits, two passive and 2 active spirits of the planets for each day, right? And you've got like a whole set of as above, so below, right? And the whole Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all is represented in that little triumvirate of deity, archangel, and working class spirits, as it were, right? Manifestors, the spirits of the material world. So, yeah. Point being, the magician, in my opinion, that the Hermetic magician, it learns that they're part of this process of manifestation. And when you understand that you're part of the process of it, this hymn to Zeus, where it talks about how the good person is going to understand that it's by bowing down and worshiping Zeus, you're going to actually find your place. It's not that. You stop fighting against something as a higher power because it's actually you wanting to do stuff, right? And it's like you're not fighting against yourself. And the only reason anybody fights against their own desires and what's best for them in life is because somebody else told them that they should, and they're trying to please somebody else instead of their own selves. They're not trying to make themselves have a better time. And the secret is that people don't want you to know, is if you stop doing things for other people and you start doing the things that you actually really want without any corruption, like, and I'm not talking about your corrupt desires that come out of your trauma. I'm not talking about untreated mental illness. All right, I'm talking about if you've kind of done some work and you've purified yourself a bit, and you know sort of what your mission in life is because you've looked at what makes you happy. You understand what your vibe is and what how. So for me, I found some things that I do are beneficial to other people, and there's some things that I do that are not. And I understand that the things that I'm here that make me happiest are the things that I do that make other people benefit as well, right? So I try to focus on those, and the more I do that, the more I find things that are pleasing to me, right? So by pursuing what I actually desire, which is that good feeling I get from being able to help people effectively and become more effective in their own stuff, because that's what I'm looking for, it becomes a guiding force for me. Right, and it's not something that I could do if I was doing it for corrupt reasons, right? And believe me, it's not because I haven't been corrupt about this stuff before. But that's every time. This sounds so cliche, but every time you try to do something for the wrong reasons, when you start pursuing the materialization of a thing rather than what it is you're striving for. When you stop doing it for the right reasons, you end up missing out on what it was that was driving your manifestation in the first place. So, like, for example, if you're doing a weekly Jupiter Rite every Thursday, and at the end of it you say, to my health and my necessary wealth, right? What are you asking for? You're asking for your health and your necessary wealth. You're not asking for all the wealth in the universe. You might think that you need all that to have what you want, but you're really just saying your necessary wealth. So, if you're taking steps in faith that you're going to get your necessary wealth, you don't worry about your money. But if all you do for the rest of the week then is look for your income sources, and you obsessively look for that, you're not going to be seeing what you're there for. Right, and you're asking for the wealth to do something, but you're not doing the thing that you're asking for the wealth for. So where's your wealth going to come in? Right. So like if you ask for money to be able to bake cakes, I'm not saying just go out and start baking cakes. Well, just make cakes. I'm just saying take steps towards being able to make cakes. What do you need? Start getting your shit together so you can do that. And as you do, you'll find that everything kind of falls into place as you go along, because you've done the magic to make that happen. And you have to take the steps in faith or to create the opportunities for it to manifest around it. I find that is very much more effective than sitting there waiting for things to happen. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work that way sometimes. Sometimes they make things happen miraculously, and that's what I'd love to see more of. And I do see more of it. The more light, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, that you put into it, the more clarity you can bring to the situation, the more harmony you can bring of all the different forces that you're working with at one time. I really like working with my holy guardian angel lately to harmonize all the spirits that I'm working with for everything else. On Mondays, I really like doing the all 7 spheres rites, because it's very much like directing all the forces, and asking my holy guardian angel to assist me in making that happen seems to be a very effective way to approach things. If I get really great at it, you will know. But I will also write books about it, of course. But anyway, that's all stuff that I like to do. But the reason it's effective is because I primarily am using it to express what it is I'm here to express, because I am constantly looking inwards to my source to see what it is I want, to understand what it is I want to see happen next. Because so much of my life I've spent, and one of the things, if you watch me regularly, I get upset about this kind of thing. I spent so much of my time living for other people that I don't know how to. I didn't know for a long time how to look after for what I really wanted, And then I was so upset about things not going the way I thought they should go, because I was doing all this stuff for all these other people and they didn't appreciate it because I never stopped to ask them what they really wanted. It's not like I was doing them any fucking favors. But because I thought I was doing this for them, then it was on top of that they weren't appreciating. You know what I mean? It's just all this crazy crap. But the only way for me to get to sanity and to be able to control my thoughts and be able to speak my words one at a time and not repeat myself most of the time, is by actually, looking at what I want, understanding who I am and where I want to go with my life and where I'm going to end up. Based on what I've got going on right now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying, regularly checking in on whether or not what I'm doing right now is in keeping with my ethics, my morals, my goals, my overall occult process. Am I doing the transformations that I want to do? Am I bringing the light into the world that I want to bring into the world? Is this a stepping stone, or is it what? These are all important things to me. But anyway, the point is, it's the pursuit of that light that brings about, in my experience, the power that brings a transformation to your life, making sure that you're doing the right thing that is right in your own heart. And I want to talk about that today when we get into the Headless Rite. So before I get into the Headless Rite, I want to talk a little bit about the Headless Rite in general. The Headless Rite is the Stele of Jehu. Let's see if I can pull this over a little bit. Different websites want you to do different things. How far over do I need to go? Okay, that should work. All right, so this is a scan of the Greek magical papyri in translation, including the demonic spells from Hans-Dieter Betz. This is on... I don't know what this is on. I found it on a Google search. I don't know exactly what this page is. But this is page 103. I do have the book. It's also right here. Page 103 is a heavily dog-eared page here in my particular copy, because this is a very core ritual, a very core spell in my workings. If you read through my my Conjuration script, there's still this part where I say to say these names of God, Aoth, Abraoth, Basim, Isaac, Sabaoth, Iao, that part right here on line 132 here, that is directly out of this script, right? It's still part of my regular practice, because this has always been a very powerful part of my magical transformation. And that goes back to my original understanding of the pursuit of the Holy Guardian Angel and the transformation that brings about illumination and enlightenment and all that crap, and how important that was, and the Tifrath initiation and all this stuff, right? So I believed that, based on what Aleister Crowley said about the Holy Guardian Angel, that I needed to go through a solar initiation to experience my Holy Guardian Angel, right? And understand that moment and achieve the same thing that they're talking about in Liber Samek and the Obermelon Rite. So the Liber Samek is Aleister Crowley's version of the Obermelon Rite. It's designed to create the same psychic state that you get through the Obermelon Rite to achieve this contact with this holy nature of yourself, right? The Agoides, myself made perfect. Mathers said that the Holy Guardian Angel of the Obermelon Rite was supposed to be the equivalent to the Agoides, the perfect self of the Brahmin and Atman tradition of the Hindus, that he didn't necessarily understand, and he didn't necessarily understand what Obermelon was or the Holy Guardian Angel. But he put all that together, and then Crowley took all that and said, oh, okay, so if you take that and then apply that to the Stela of Jehu, and the Stela of Jehu is a wonderful exorcism, and if you read through it, it's actually the rite that we call the Headless right now. And he took it and he turned it into his understanding of what Mathers said was happening during the Holy Guardian Angel contact rite, which is a solar initiation, and he turned it into this whole Kabbalistically correct method of moving from the moon to the sun, crossing this transition point and achieving a solar initiation that resulted in a moment of clarity in which all of a sudden you could see and speak to your Holy Guardian Angel and get their name, and then you'd just be able to conjure them going forward by their name, right? And it was a straightforward thing. And that's how I understood it anyway. I'm not saying that's really what he said or what he meant, but that's what I thought he meant, and that's what I was trying to do. So I did Liber Samek for 2 weeks, and I had this wonderful experience. And if you've ever done Liber Samek, it is very much similar to the Greek Magical Papyri version over here, and that's because Crowley had access to this Greek Magical Papyri. It's not like we just figured it out, or Betts just figured it out. You know, Crowley saw these original texts himself and modeled his Liber Samek on that. So Liber Samek here, it very much is a version of this Headless Rite. So there's something about the Headless Rite that is very powerful, and other people have done really intelligent and academic analyses of this particular ritual and what it means. Sam Block has done a great analysis. I remember reading something on a Practical Occult that was very detailed analysis of it. People have promoted. I had my own theories early on about different parts of it meaning different things that I don't necessarily believe anymore. You know, it's a very interesting and very deep ritual, and I wanted to revisit it because I want to see it now from a perspective of when it was originally written, and some of the assuming that the people that were speaking this ritual had been through an Orphic ritual that revealed to them that this invisible fire, this unseen entity, was this Zeus themselves, right? You can understand this in a different light, as not just a method of expelling demons or of conjuring not necessarily an aspect of God or anything but like that, but actually the pure invisible fire itself, the light of consciousness, the scintillating intelligent awareness that becomes you and me, into which our personalities emerge, right? As we become aware of ourselves, as we transition from infants to adolescence, there's a stage where we start to, or some of us even remember being aware the whole time, where we're aware of ourselves and our emotions and our relationships to others. Others of us, we feel that emerge into this field, and that's a much more common experience of having emerged into this field of already being aware. And it's like our personality is already starting to become something that we identify as a self and an expression of self. Prior to that, it was just how things were. It's like, oh, I like chocolate, I don't like vanilla, you know? And it's like people just have these preferences from birth, but it becomes part of their personality over time. It becomes a reflection of their character, you know? But these are just things that are at one point, and then all of a sudden they become us, right? And at that moment, there's this transition point where we stop seeing ourselves as one phase of existence and consciousness and begin seeing ourselves as another. And we take everything a lot more personally and from a very personal perspective in our temporal being, right? But at the same time, we never really lose that connection to everything else. And it's that connection to everything else is that scintillating awareness that is also connected to everything else. And I don't want to talk about how literally that is true on a very quantum level, because everybody talks about quantum shit. Nobody really understands it, self included. And if I pretend like I do, I sound like an idiot. But I do understand enough of it to know that every time I hear it explained by intelligent people, I understand it in a very clear way to be speaking to the exact same principles that you find being discussed and reiterated by Anaximenes of Miletus and Heraclitus of Ephesus. You know, you hear them talking about this essential aspect of existence that is like a fire that is consuming itself every moment. You know, and it's very much like a way that they describe how the moment decays into the essence of being again, right? The moment is a moment of electrons interacting with perhaps the only electron that exists, right? It might just be moving. Anyway, it's a very complicated thing at a very small level of what's going on. So, but it still works according to these laws that people eventually start calling the law of attraction, right? Or whatever you want to call it, manifestation, or doing magic, or conjuring the intelligence of Mars to manifest the forces of Mars in a more direct way to counterbalance the astrological forces of Mars, right? You want to call it however you want. You know, it doesn't matter. What you're doing is you're using your connection to those forces that represent Mars in that example through symbol and word and your secret knowledge and your secret understanding of your connection to those things, right? Because you know your place in the things. You know that you're the what in the middle. You're the Meister. You're the master. You know that you're the manifestation of all these other forces through your words. They get their direction through your commandments, right? And you understand that as a magician. It's your awareness of that empowers you to speak to these guys, right? And makes your words bear fruit, right? I have I don't want to call her a student anymore because she's very, very much, I want to say at least my equal, if not, you know, whatever. She knows her shit about things. But she's been talking about how your breath holds all the elements, and some shit she learned from another book. I think it's by Hargrave, Corvus Hargrave or something like that. Anyway, it's Galatia Pathworking. I'd never heard of it, but basically he teaches that your breath contains all the elements in it. Like, you know, the four elements are represented in it plus spirit, and you breathe into these sigils what your intent is, and it helps materialize things. And I'm summarizing it, and I'm probably butchering the technology, but anyway, it's a very interesting way of doing things. But my understanding of things is that we're the logos that speaks things into being. And if you understand that your breath is also the materialization point of the elements, that also makes sense. So it makes even more sense of how we're all putting it together, and our intention is taking on the form of our words, and it's wrapping it into these elemental vibrations, or whatever you want to call it, as we form our experiences around our intentions, right, as magicians. But that's entirely about this invisible fire, and how we are focal points of it, how we are lenses that coalesce it and point it into a single specific point that we call our existence, our experience in our lifetimes. This ritual itself is very simple. It takes less than 10 minutes to do, right? I mean, if you do this on a regular basis, it's pretty simple. You read through it. I summon you, Headless One, who created earth and heaven, right? Who created earth and heaven in the Zeus cosmology? It was Zeus, right? Zeus emerged everything from himself after consuming the source of all creation. The universe was destroyed, and he recreated it in his own image. Okay, who created earth and heaven? Who created night and day? You who created light and darkness. You are Osiranophris, whom none has ever seen. Okay, it's more about the pharaoh that none have ever seen. It is the when I say in my Conjuration script, you who yet sit in eternal darkness. Unseen eye who sees all and yet sit in eternal darkness. That's what we're talking about, is this Pharaoh, the king, who sits in eternal darkness, right? Whom none have ever seen. You are Yabas, you are Yapos. You have distinguished the just and the unjust. And I'm not going to get into Yabos and Yapos. Other people have done that to much better effect than I'm going to. But you've distinguished the just and the unjust. Now this is kind of the point I want to make about what the light is. And what the light is actually something that matters to us as magicians. All right. Line here, 101. You have distinguished the just and the unjust. You have made female and male. You have revealed seed and fruits. You have made men love each other and hate each other. Okay, so we're looking at what this deity looks at, right, and is the source of. Okay, so this is Zeus, right? If you think of it as Zeus, the head of all, right? The just and the unjust. You've made the female and the male. You've revealed seed and fruits. They're talking about ethics and morals. They're talking about judging what people have done. They're talking about just and unjust, which are very subjective terms. All right, if you look at what's going on in any part of the country or the world right now, there are people on, quote, both sides with opinions about it, right? And meanwhile, there's one group of people making money off of both sides, right? And other people suffering. And that's just okay. That's just how it is. And people are just okay with that shit, right? But we're not. We're not okay with it. We all judge each other. Everybody has opinions on what's going on. Some people, one side is okay and the other side is bad, and other people think the other side is bad and the other side is okay. You know, and it's all. And I have my opinions about things, right? But it's all about judging what's going on, right? Everybody has an opinion. If you want to look at what makes an occultist famous in a culture, it's because we criticize one another. Like what makes us stand out, the fastest way to prominence is to take somebody else's name that you recognize, that other people recognize, and say, oh, they're stupid, and then point out all the stupid things they ever did. You know, and guess what? Every one of us does stupid things. And there's a million stupid things that you can point out about Rufus Opus. It's not hard. You know, if you look at anybody, you're going to find stupid things that we did as we learned about stuff. We said a lot of things when we thought things, and then it didn't turn out that way, you know? And then, and if you look, we changed. And people who are good magicians continue to grow, you would hope, you know? But point being, you know, God, what was the point? I don't even remember what the point was. Anyway, oh yeah, HGA stuff. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted there. But the point was, uh, criticizing one another is the shortcut to notoriety and fame. You piggyback on somebody else, and I did it to other people when I was first coming into the occult community, and they did it to me. And we actually we made names for ourselves by arguing in occult forums. It was something that we did, and it was just some people liked what some people were saying, and they bought books that they wrote about it because they thought that their ideas were interesting. And that's how people became famous, was by criticizing one another. And it's a spirit of correction. It's a spirit of, actually, let me fix that for you, and it's very much, people are like, how come there's so many white guys in the occult? Well, because white guys are into that shit. We're the actually guys. We're actually, let me tell you something. And the whole occult community is like, actually, you're doing it wrong, and it's actually what let me tell you what Nepalese mysticism meant, and actually let me tell you what Native American mysticism meant, and it's so much of that. And it's like, I hate to say that it's all appropriation, but it's mostly appropriation, guys. And that's what Western occultism is. It's Europeans trying to make sense of other people's mystery traditions because theirs were robbed from them by the Christian church, and it's a damn shame. So they're trying to make sense of stuff that actually worked because their spiritual lives were so empty of rich experiences. They didn't have the methods of interpreting things, so they had all these weird... Anyway, whatever. I have my opinions. Point being, I don't remember what the point was. It's just being critical. Oh, right, critical. So, in a lot of ways, when I say to you, like in other videos, I've said the point of evil is to be overcome. The point of there being, like, why is there evil in this world? I really do think it makes sense when you realize that it's all about criticizing things. It's about critiquing what's wrong and fixing it, taking what's wrong and fixing it. The great work that we have as occultists is turning lead into gold, taking something that's less valuable and bringing out its highest value, the refinement of the world. And I'm not talking about refining it in a way that is non-sustainable or for the profit of a few at the expense of the many. I'm talking about bringing things into harmony and understanding with our rational logic and our awareness by criticizing what is wrong and doing something about it, fixing the world with our powers of enhanced understanding and illumination, being illuminated and using our fucking powers to make the world a better place. That's really what magicians are supposed to do. This ritual is the conjuration of that higher power that is here to judge whether or not things are going right or not. Okay? Every moment in the moment, we're manifesting the will of God. It's what I'm saying with all this crap I'm saying about Zeus, is that we are the manifestations of this eternal intelligence, this scintillating awareness that descends in a lightning bolt through the seven spheres in Kabbalah, or whatever you want to call it. We are the lightning within our brain cells, interpreting our experiences on a moment-by-moment basis. And this lightning is shared universally across every electrical and chemical interaction at the fundamentalist level of existence. We share electrons. We share this electrical awareness every moment. Every moment it's breaking down in exactly the way that these pre-Socratic philosophers described, in this invisible fire that is on fire every moment, consuming itself into infinity, right? To what end? To judge, to freaking judge. Why are we so judgy about everything? My favorite thing to post on Facebook to this day is, you think you don't like, after I haven't been posting for a while, is you think I'm not saying anything, but I'm here scrolling, judging, and it's just, that's it. Just, that's it. I'm here looking at everything and I'm judging you. Cause I'm judging everything. I'm a shitty person that way. And it's not because I think I'm better than you. It's because that's what we do. Right? I mean, if you look at us biologically, we're constantly scanning the universe for threats, flight or fight. We're biologically programmed to determine, is this a threat, good or bad, 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 and we project that onto everything else. That's one way of looking at it. Or we can look at this ritual here that talks about invoking this hidden fire. You're the one who created earth and heaven, who created night and day. You created light and darkness. You're this Pharaoh whom none has ever seen. You're the power of one side. You're the power of the other. It depends on how you interpret those words for what that we're talking about. You've distinguished the just and the unjust. You've made female and male. You've revealed seed and fruits, sources and what comes from them. You've determined genetics, is what they're saying. From this seed, you get this. You're the one that determines these things. You're the fate. You're the materializer of these things. Right? Why? You've distinguished the just and the unjust, right? And I'm Moses, your prophet, unto whom you've transmitted your mysteries. I'm in the middle of all this stuff. I'm the one who understands these mysteries, right? And I understand all this stuff and how it works, how the moist and the dry and all nourishment comes together, and they hear me, and I'm the voice of all this stuff. I'm the messenger of all this stuff, right? I'm the messenger of the Pharaoh. I'm the messenger of this king who's nobody's ever seen. And I know your true name, right? And it's been transmitted to the people of Israel, who are Israel, the chosen ones. Who are the chosen ones? The ones who hear. He who has who has ears to hear, let them hear. It's those of us who are called to this. And how do you know if you're called to be a magician? In my opinion, you're doing magic and it's working. You do magic and it works? Great. Doesn't work? Try it again. See if it works this time, because maybe you missed it. And that's the thing. Why would you be called to it? Why would you be doing it if you weren't called to it? And I don't know anybody who does it who doesn't have success. I know people who say they don't. They say they don't. And you just got to be like, okay, well, stop doing it then. You're right. It doesn't work for you. Even though you can see it working in their lives the whole time, because they've blinded themselves to that part of existence. And there's nothing you can do. You can't be enlightened for other people. You can't bring your enlightenment to other people. You can only be illuminated, and you can only do what you have to do. Anyway, you identify yourself in this whole ritual as this person that is this embodiment of this awesome and invisible God with an empty spirit, and all the names from it. Holy Headless One. And then you're like, deliver this person from the demon which restrains him. Let them be free from this spirit, right? And of course, it's for getting rid of demons that restrain them, but it's also for getting people initiated, right? How many times have you said this ritual for yourself, right? I don't know. I've said it for myself quite a bit, for myself. Deliver me from the demon that restrains me, and it's me. I'm the one I want delivered from, and it's my taking of things a little bit personally, and then there's all these names for them. And then he is the Lord of the gods. He is the Lord of the inhabited world. He is the one whom the winds fear. He is the one whom made all things by the command of his voice, right? Again, it's like all this stuff. You're the one that made all these things, right? And you're identifying yourself with it. And that's all this big mystery, and other people have explored that mystery of how it goes from you are to what you've done to I am that, and then because I am, therefore you have to do with this. And it's this transformation of the self. And that's what Crowley taps into with Liber Samic, is this idea that as you repeat this ritual on a regular basis, you create the powers inside of you that creates this self-transformation that is much easier to do when you just do this one time here. I like doing it a lot because that's sort of how I am, but whatever. At the end of it, you identify yourself with the spirit, and you're the headless daemon with sight in your feet, right? And that is, if you look at this idea of Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, and Zeus the all in all, the headless daemon, you're headless because you have no You are the source. You don't have a source because you are the source, right? You have sight in the feet because it's like through, in a way, you identify yourself and your personality and your choices and your perspective on things as the way through which you're the bearer of that awareness. You're the feet and the sight in the feet. You are aware of the universe by acting in it, and that's you. You're the sight in the feet that are our experiences of existence. And a way of looking at it is just, as we choose to do what we want, we are enacting the will of God through our actions, and then also experiencing it, and therefore we are the sight, and we can only see and judge whether or not it was good or bad by doing things, by taking those steps in faith for that deity. Yeah, so anyway, it talks about how, I wanted to get into this part too. I am the mighty one who possesses the immortal fire. This immortal fire, again, this is the immortal fire of Anaximenes of Miletus, right? Who spoke and said, air is the arche of all things. You know, who said the air is a divine, infinite, living substance, that through rarefication it becomes fire, and through condensation it becomes wind and cloud and water and earth and stone, right? And they were talking about, Heraclitus talked about saying it wasn't air, it was fire itself. And it wasn't fire, the element, that was the essence of existence, but the consumption of things in the fire, the burning. All that is not fire, according to Heraclitus. All that is on fire. There's a difference. You know, when things burn, the light is released. And to what end? To be judged. To be judged and to be determined. Because I am the truth who hates the fact that unjust deeds are done in the world, right? Crowley translates it as, where is it? Here. I am he the truth. I am he who hates that evil should be wrought in the world, right? I am he that hates that evil should be wrought in the world. I am he, the truth, who hates the fact that unjust deeds are done in the world. I am he who distinguished the just and the unjust, right? So it's almost as if the existence itself has no fucking impulse control. And it just sort of vomits out everything, and it determines in that moment whether or not it's good or bad. And it's like, I have these ideas, I want to see if they're any good. And I think what this points to is that we are the process of perfection of the universe through our attempts to accomplish the great work. And by doing our true will, by trying to express this hidden fire in the cleanest way possible, you know, by doing our work on the seven spheres initiations, the point of all that stuff is not to become entitled master blasters of the universe, right? It's not to become the Sean Diddy Combs or you know, the people on top that you see that have like all the stuff, right? That's not the point of the powerful magician. The powerful magician is the one that heals the universe by healing themselves and bringing the universe into harmony with their purified, healthy expression of this divine truth, right? Because we're expressing it anyway, you know, and we're expressing it to judge it, and we're expressing it to determine whether or not we like it. Yeah, and when you don't like it, right, you do something about it. You fix it. Right? That's what all this power is for as magicians, is to fix the world, ourselves and the world around it, you know? And that's what we do. And that's my point about all this stuff. And it's not because I expect to get rich from it. I don't expect to do that. And it's not because it's going to fix everything for everybody, but it's because it has fixed so much for me in ways that have made sense of everything that I think are going to be very important now and in the next decade for sure, and the next 40 years after that. Maybe not for everybody, but for hermeticists, I think it's going to matter a lot. So that's why I've been doing all this stuff, and I'm glad that I finally got through, I think, all the points I wanted to make about the invisible fire. So anyway, thanks for enjoying that with me. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Let's see, Julian says, is HTA hypnosis... Julian, I wanted to tell you, remember I said something about the fourth pinnacle of Jupiter being something that because you had it bad in your chart that you could make it one for yourself while it's afflicted now, and it might be good for you. And I talked to Cliff, and he corrected me on that. He said it would be like having a sick doctor treat someone who had like a doctor with heart trouble treat somebody who had heart trouble. So do not assume that a fourth pinnacle of Jupiter made while he's afflicted is going to be particularly healthy. Doesn't work that way, even though I wanted it to really badly. So I just wanted to make sure I said that next time I saw you. All right, so you asked, HJ hypnosis is pretty much you guiding someone through the Stella of Jade. Yeah, kind of. It's... No, not exactly. If you want that, it's going to be more... no. Haven't quite figured that one out yet as why it's not available. So no, it would be more of a release of all 7 spheres. It would be more like a very intense what we do over 2 weeks for the Conjuring a Prosperous Life, but in a very intense way. I'd want to do all 7 spheres of the initiations first to make sure you've done all those. I know you have. And then conjure all the 7 spirits probably on a Monday on a new moon, and then do the whole initiation process. There's a whole script I would want you to go through, and yeah, a lot of it would be based on this, but it's also pretty much the core opening of the Conjuration script, but in a little bit more detail. And then the revelation of your holy guardian angel and their name and their all that stuff. So there's more to it than that, but basically, yeah, that's why I haven't gotten to it, because there's stuff. There's stuff I want to do about it. Anyway, hi Sergey, how's it going? And any unforeseen effects of reciting the Stella of Ju. So I've said it every day on a regular basis for like a year and a half. Eventually I got sober. My entire life got much better and cleared up, but it took a lot of work. There are arguments to be made that the Stella of Ju, Rite, had a lot to do with me getting sober. Other people take credit for it. Other people say it was whatever. Everybody has opinions on what that was about, but yeah, I would say that it is the only thing that it can do, in my opinion, is make you more aware of who you are and what you are. The more the problem with that can be if you don't know who that is. If you are hiding parts of yourself from yourself. There's this guy that has these videos where he hands these notes out to people and says, "I hope you heal from things that you don't talk about." And it's supposed to be all this like touching thing, that it breaks some people's hearts, and you can see it on their faces. And I'm like, "Aw, aw." I feel that, like there's things that people don't talk about that they carry with them. Right? And when you're doing the Headless Rite every day, you're empowering yourself at the essence and the core of what you are. You're identifying yourself with that, right? And you're going to unleash all of that power, and it can be very healing. It can be very transformative if you're doing it in a transformative way, but it doesn't care how it comes out. And that's the thing, is that none of this stuff cares any more than you do, right? You're the power that determines what is just and unjust, right? You're the one that has to determine that. And that's not nobody. That what that means is you have to live with what you do, you know, and you have to fix what you break, but also, you know, you're the one that decides whether or not you're going to sit there while masked men break into your neighbor's house, right? What are you going to do about that? That's something that a lot of people don't want to have to think about, and other people have had to, right? And I don't have an answer for what's right for everybody. I have my opinions. You know, I know what I would do if somebody tried to do that to me. If I felt threatened, I know how I would feel about it. It's not a great world to live in right now for that kind of thing, you know. But as a magician, I've already taken steps. I've got my Mars stuff set up so that we don't end up in that position, you know, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. But anyway, this ritual itself, I really wanted to point out that it's all this stuff through here. If you get into Gaia, Appa, Diakona, Korin, I don't want to get into all that, but it is very much the headless diamond, the sight of feet, the mighty one who possesses the immortal fire. It's understanding that you become that immortal fire, and that you are the truth that hates the fact that unjust deeds are made. William Blake talks about how it was the voice of honest indignation that made the prophets speak. And that is very much what drives us as magicians to change the world. It is our seeing that things are not the way we want them to be, that we are not pleased with our lot in life, that our fate is not treating us the way we want it to go, and we are looking for a way out because we don't see the path. We don't have the answers. We don't have the way out. We don't have the power. So we're looking for a way to change it because we're looking at it and it's not good enough for us. It is okay to have that opinion about things. It is entitled. It is kind of shitty. All right, it's arrogant. It is obtuse. It is myopic. It is one-sided, right? And if you're a shit person, you're going to have a shit experience as a result of taking authority over other people's lives, right? And this is the danger of being a magician, right? You have to live with your results, but you're the one that decides what's right and wrong. All right, the Bible talks about how it's written on the hearts of every human being. The law of what is just and unjust, we all know it. That's why we're all supposedly held accountable for it. And what does that mean when we're all one thing? It means we're literally holding ourselves accountable for every wrong that we do to ourselves, literally in that moment, right? And as magicians, you know, we can make sure that other people understand that in more exquisite and experiential ways, right? Because we understand that the forces of what people call fate are the forces that we have the names and the seals of, that we can conjure, you know, according to our understanding of their harmonics and our own spheres and all that stuff, right? So anyway, what do I have to say about all that stuff? What I'm trying to say is conjure this conjuration creates a distillate. I like distillates. This conjuration creates a distillate of this hidden fire, and it helps you to identify with that hidden fire in a way that can spark, it can serve as a catalyst that ignites the heat of transformation, that creates that, what I considered at the time, a solar initiation, right? Or this Tiferath initiation, or this path of transformation in this whole tree of life that supposedly made sense in a sequence, all right? Today, what I would say what it does is it creates more like a lens that's focusing all of that heat and light into a single point that that becomes the source of fire of transformation for the alchemical process, that reveals to you your own purity, your own power to command spirits, for example, to leave. And why do you get the power to get to command the spirit to leave in this ritual? Why does this entity have the power to do that? Because it was formed to judge and to cut off the darkness from the light. That's what we get to do. We don't like things. All right, and it's an entitled. It's very much a selfish thing that we're doing here as magicians. We don't think that the people that are running the show know their asses from a hole in the ground, and that we could do better, right? So we're going to get the power to do that. Or we're just not happy with our lot in life. How come we aren't in harmony with it? At least let me find my own harmony with it, right? Maybe that's a better way to put it. Personally, I don't like how people are running the show. Maybe I'm projecting everything onto it that I personally feel. That could be true. Anyway, I gotta hop. I got work to get to. Have a great week. Definitely do this ritual as many times as you can, and it will be very similar to the Conjuration of Gabriel ritual, but it's also going to be like all the orphichems, all the archangels, and then a very specific initiatory experience that hopefully reflects this path into that I want it to be something where you adopt the awareness of that scintillating intelligence, the light focus that focuses through us, right? So that would be the ideal situation, but I don't know necessarily if that's necessary for the HGA stuff, but I feel like it is. So I've got more experiments to do. If you want to work with me on that, I'd love to. I will send you the script, and you can tell me what you think, and we can see what happens if you want. Anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Do feel free to reach out. I will talk to you later. Have a good weekend.